and welcome to a football podcast with myself, Christian Jack, and Stephen Caldwell. Today we chat about Manchester City's domestic treble, Toronto FC at RSL, a new MLS goal leader, Bruce Arena's return to MLS, Bayern Munich lift another title, and a very special interview with Wayne Rooney. We just finished Toronto FC at RSL. Real Salt Lake winning the game 3-0. We'll get to that in a second, but first, how's everyone doing? Any plans for the long weekend? Good to see you, Shawnee. Any plans?
No, it's going to be just a quiet one at home. I need it.
Stevie, any plans for the weekend?
Not so sure.
Got some random days off here.
Hopefully
what are those about?
Nice day tomorrow. Let's get that weather up a little
go.
bit, a bit of sun, and then maybe visit my good friend Phil for a little bit of barbecue and a swim.
Why not? We all know about Stevie's love for barbecues on this show. Often comes up regularly. I'll be keeping more than one eye, in fact 2 eyes, on the Indy 500 qualifying ahead of next week.
Alonso in trouble there.
Lots of trouble going on there. Big stories. Keep an eye on that as well. Let's get into the games of the week. Let's start at Wembley as Manchester City tonked Watford by 6-0. Quick story here. My cousin, by marriage, he married my cousin, a lifelong Watford fan, was delighted. He was at the game. I messaged him last night. I said, enjoy the game, just taking every minute. He goes, yeah, we haven't got much of a chance, but we're going to enjoy anyway. I said, I don't think you're going to get thrashed, mate. They got thrashed.
Good prediction, mate. They got absolutely thrashed,
absolutely
didn't they?
Destroyed. 6-0 ties the most record for the heaviest victory / defeat, depending on which side you want it, since 1903. Raheem Sterling tied the first hat-trick in a FA Cup final since Stan Mortensen in 1953. Just in case Man City need to break any more records. They have won the unprecedented domestic treble in men's football in the UK. Remarkable. In England.
Absolutely remarkable. Something that we never thought would ever be done. Fergie was one of the great Sir Alex Ferguson was one of the guys that said that it was pretty much impossible to win the domestic treble. And Pep Guardiola's Manchester City have done that achievement. They've had great success. And really it was expected, but I don't think anybody expected it in the manner of a 6-0 victory. I certainly didn't. I thought it would be tight and tense and tough. These guys expend incredible energy every single game, mentally and physically. Yeah. And so to go into this week after the dramatic last Sunday and winning the title at Brighton after the shock of going a goal behind, and I'm sure the party was very curbed, but there would have been some kind of party there. Zero hangover at all, was there? The guys were ready. They were at it. Perfect tactics. They demolished Watford.
They demolished them. I thought, watching it, the manner and the ease of which they went about it, really we can't take for granted, even though it's so hard at the time. When they're smacking these goals in and they're dominating a game of this magnitude, this just doesn't happen. Yeah. It doesn't happen at this level, and it's easy to make these long-range judgments of how the game is now. And of course, Man City have thrashed Watford in many formats this season, and okay, it's 1 versus 8 in the Premier League, and there's a dramatic difference. But I don't think that's the truth. I think the truth is that there's just a dramatic difference between the best team in England than there has been in many, many years than the best team in England. You could go on and say they're arguably the greatest team that we've seen in English football. The winning is tough, and they've made it look easy. Yeah. And, if it wasn't for Liverpool, then they would have cruised their way to this treble. Liverpool have made them better, but in many ways have taken away that storyline of just how comfortable much of the season has been. Yeah,
we get very blasé about watching it, don't we? There's another goal and another moment by one of their tremendous players. And so we get blasé and we get it becomes the norm, and this is not the norm. This is absolutely phenomenal what we're watching this team do, and their attitude is, we keep saying the same things, but the attitude to me is astounding. I can't believe these guys are so prepared to go out there and to activate the tactics and bring all that quality and endeavour and drive to the game. And this was a demolition because of that, KJ. We think back to the 10th minute where there was maybe it was the 11th minute where there was a wonderful save from Ederson, the one big chance for Watford. Yeah. A star performer, a guy who is part of every single game. He's there, he's out, he makes a great save from Pereira. And then after that, I want to talk about the first goal scored by City's greatest ever signing, the greatest ever player, David Silva, in my opinion. He wins a header. He's 5'6" or 7. He wins a header because his tenacity. It goes up in the air, and then Raheem Sterling, maybe the second smallest guy in the pitch, wins a header and then David Silva holds off the defender, wants it more than the defender, and puts it into the back of the net. And a team so beautiful as Manchester City to score a goal like that was somewhat scrappy, and it was all about drive and determination and will to win, was remarkable. And it was a pleasure to watch. After that, the power of De Bruyne, the hat-trick from Sterling, the moments of genius for Bernardo Silva, just a brilliant team.
Yeah, De Bruyne came on in the 55th minute and was many people's man of the match. That's about everything.
He was dominant,
and obviously a man possessed at that time, because he'd obviously not played enough football. You could see he was like shooting out of a cannon, like it was like
wanted
exploding.
to contribute, sort of thing.
He did, yes. Surprising a little bit from the start, Gabriel Jesus, Riyad Mahrez given starts.
Jesus was magnificent, KJ.
Yeah,
His
selfless.
energy, selfless. This guy's, not been the greatest goal scoring form for the whole season. He always does the right thing. I'm sure Pep loves him. Every manager that works under him. Chichi was the same, wasn't he, with Brazil at the World Cup, because he's selfless. He does the right thing every time, whether he's in goal scoring form or he's went in a massive drought. He does the right thing. I thought he was brilliant. That was a stroke of genius to play him. His energy was infectious. This was about high octane stuff, high pressure, just being too powerful for Watford. And so the selection of Jesus was really important.
Yeah, really important. And finally, the Raheem Sterling hat-tricks got a start in the 38th minute when he stole a goal from Jesus.
Shocking.
Some people were putting images on Twitter, live coverage of Raheem Sterling committing a robbery, which was a little bit like the ball was, I was going to say 3/4 of the ball was over the line, but I think that's being generous to Sterling. It was probably like, I don't know, maybe 9/10.
He used to get some stick for this back in the day, stealing somebody's goal.
Babyliners, like I used to call them. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I'm going to try and stick up for him, but I just think he was certainly was onside, so he could, he could touch it, he could put it into the back of the net because he's behind the ball.
Yeah.
And why take the chance? You don't know where a defender is, you blast it into the net. But I don't know, I'm maybe being a bit nice to him there, haven't I? That was shocking. Poor
shocking.
Jesus,
to be fair, part of scoring a goal, and you can talk about this more than me, is that the camaraderie and the celebration from your teammates. And despite Sterling scoring the goal, Jesus got all the love.
Yeah.
Because he put it in, and most of his teammates all ran to him. So he celebrated as if he'd scored the goal. I don't know if you've ever done that. Have you ever celebrated as if you scored the goal, but it's not yours?
No, never.
You did score a goal that was supposed to be an own goal.
Yeah.
It was given to you.
Yes.
Is that true?
The goal at St James's?
Yeah. You scored an own goal.
I scored the goal in a time-wear derby for Newcastle playing for Sunderland. Yeah. And I was challenged. Yeah, Shola Ameobi put the header into the bottom corner. It came off my head, and I've just immediately went, oh, you know what? I'm in big trouble here. I'm going to get some stick for this. And I hear the tannoy system say, and the goal goes to Shola Ameobi. I'm clapping. I'm like, give him the goal. Give Shola the goal. And it never got corrected, but it was certainly my goal. An OG in a time-wear derby. Oh. I'd have got lynched.
You were definitely happy for Shola committing robbery on that one, no doubt. So Manchester City, congratulations to them. They will go down as the history makers, as winning the treble. Although, before we get to TFC and the women's match, we'd have to mention their Twitter account, and I want to try and pull it up quickly because they called themselves We Are the Formidables, F-O-U-R, and took credit for a Community Shield win along with a Carabao Cup winner, Premier League champion, and FA Cup winners. And as you said, better than anybody, why would you bother doing that?
Exactly.
You've won the treble. What are you trying to be clever for and make it Formidables?
Lack of class, wasn't it? Community Shield.
Come on.
No, this is just ridiculous. This celebrating the Community Shield, started by Jose Mourinho, I think it has to be said.
Counting trophies. And Zlatan.
Yeah, Zlatan.
Yeah.
Everyone's counting this Community Shield win. Back in the day, it was a friendly. It still is a glorified friendly. And so you can't count that. They missed out on the four trophy, the quadruple that they were going for. And I don't know if it was a play on that, but just keep quiet. You're the treble winners, domestic treble winners. Great achievement. Some of these Twitter accounts, so we shake our heads at them every week, don't we?
We do, and we don't have time right now to get into it. Maybe we will when it becomes more serious, if it comes. But many replies reminding Manchester City this week of a possible Champions League ban over financial fair play. So we'll keep an eye on the Formidables going forward with that. Toronto FC was certainly not formidable in Salt Lake City as they got demolished by 3-0, conceding 2 goals in the first half and a third. In the end, 3-0 and a red card to Pozuelo pretty much summed up a disastrous day for TFC. and unfortunately, based on the way they've been playing lately, a far too predictable day.
Far too predictable. We felt that going into the game. Unfortunately, we just we see many flaws with this team at the moment, and it was an abject, dismal performance by TFC. That nothing went right. They had a good 5 or 6 minutes, let's say, where they were on the front foot and really create anything. Then after that, it was just downhill from then on. It wasn't going well at all. Some awful defending for the first goal. A number of culprits. Yes, Zavaleta made the biggest mistake getting caught under the ball, and he didn't look very brave to me in that moment. But how the ball came in, the lack of communication, nobody closed the cross down, Alro didn't cover round, then they could have won a challenge. All these things added to it. Krylak puts it in the back of the net, and that was just the attitude of the team for the whole afternoon, wasn't it, KJ? Yeah. It was just shocking from them. No cohesion in attack, frustration all round, and not enough intensity in defending. And we can go on about travel, we can go on about altitude, we can talk about how hard it is to play in MLS and make excuse after excuse, but the proper teams in any league don't make excuses. The proper teams have values, and they have a culture, and they have roll up the sleeves first, put in 100% before anything else attitude, and they don't complain. And they accept when they've been poor, and they take it on the chin, and they're ready for the next game. When you start making excuses, everybody can see through it. You know that there's flaws, you know that there's faults. Just get on with the job. You were awful in the day. You got a massive game. TFC have a huge game coming up next Sunday against San Jose.
Yeah, they certainly do. Greg Vanney was asked on in the post-game press conference locally on the tough schedule and tired legs. To be fair, it was on that. And he did say when you play 5 games in 15 days, to come on the road to Salt Lake is always going to be a challenge. We tried to push through it. The guys gave an effort even when they were down a man. Went on to say, it's one of those days we keep battling, but I'm proud of the guys' effort till the end, which I think are interesting to bring up, because you talk about effort and you talk about going at it. I didn't see it myself. I want to talk about the first goal in particular, a throw-in that looks like a very easy situation to defend. The ball comes across, the ball is thrown in, and nobody is tracking the thrower for the first place. Jordan Hamilton's looking the wrong way. Ashton Morgan is having to come out from a left-sided centre-back with his arms reaching out, his body language to suggest he's frustrated. Comes out, then the ball gets played comfortably to arguably the game's best player in Rusnak, who had all the time in the world to take a touch, look up, and then play a ball over the top. He plays the ball over the top into the box. And then I want to talk to you about the difference between quality and energy.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is the ball comes over, and I think in this moment when we can pause the ball in the air, Eric Zavaleta and Auro both make misjudgments. They both make decisions which are wrong. Zavaleta judges to go for the ball, and he's made the inaccurate decision to go for the ball thinking he can get it. And Auro takes steps back. I'm not sure why he's doing that either. He's not going towards the ball and seeking the danger immediately.
No.
I would say that those are potential characteristics of players who just lack quality in those areas. Is that fair? For now, before I carry on, do you think? Let me say this to you. Do you think decision making is a lot down to quality of players?
Yes.
Right. So they make poor decisions in those areas. And I'm going to put it down for a second in those moments, because I think that's the difference sometimes between top class players and others. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt in those moments. Poor decisions, but maybe that's one of the reasons why they are, no disrespect, but Auro and Eric Zavaleta. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. So then the ball has come over. They've missed the chances to get. Then they are now sandwiching Krylak, who has a time to take a touch on the chest, take a touch in the penalty box on his chest, allow the ball to come down and really go significantly unchallenged and fire the ball into the net. Goalkeeper had no problem. No issue with Westbrook.
No.
So my point being now is the moment that ball touches his chest, now we're talking about a different kind of skill set. Now we're talking about desire and ability to stop anything that comes in those moments. And at that moment, neither of them two had enough of it there to show me that they are protecting that goal no matter what in that moment. Yeah. Is that fair?
It is fair. I'm with you. It was bad decisions by Zavaleta and by Auro in the lead up to Krylak putting it into the back of the net. But the desire and the determination and the mindset to defend comes when you step onto that field.
Right.
Actually, it comes in training.
Right.
It comes through your entire week of preparation. It comes through what you see yourself as a football player. And I can only speak about myself and the way I like to defend. A player who, to me, it was an embarrassment if I didn't do my job properly. And my job was to defend. And so, yeah, it was too many times to mention where I didn't do my job properly. But my mindset when I went out there was to be a defender, KJ.
Yep.
And I don't think that TFC have, I don't say any, they don't have a lot of players that step on that field with a mindset to defend. I think Drew Moore has a mindset to defend. I think he has deficiencies as a player. He's getting on a little bit in age, as everybody has, basically, in MLS for sure. But he has an appetite to defend. I can't say the same thing about a number of their other defenders. I don't see it in Laurent Simon. I don't see it in Chris Mavinga. I don't see it in Eric Zavaleta. Eric Zavaleta is like, he's putting his neck into his shoulders. He was scared. He was reluctant to go and challenge for that ball. He should be going in that ball wholehearted, 100%, get a cut eye, get a concussion. Whatever happens. When you're a defender, you don't think about the repercussions.
Right.
You just do your job. Auro is already thinking about how he can get in the overlap or get up the field instead of thinking, my mate's in trouble
that's
here.
That's why I think you step back.
Right, so I'm going to bail him out the danger. I'm going to come and head of the ball. So to me, it's a mindset. Yes, they were very poor decisions, but it's the mindset that's completely wrong with this team. Mm-hmm. It starts at the top, it goes all the way through. It may even start in the coach's room because we keep hearing the right things, but we don't see a team that are particularly set up to go and defend aggressively. Now, defending isn't just telling everybody to come back behind the ball and get into a shape. Defending is actually having a plan to go and engage the opposition. And I see a TFC side that have played between, their line was extremely high today, but have played between an extremely low line, everybody behind the ball, and an extremely high line where there's far too much grass in behind. I don't see a team who come back into a shape and then go and press from that shape.
Yeah.
I don't see an appetite from a midfielder to go and maybe cover a gap or go and address the ball. I don't see a defender that puts his body in the line and goes and heads it clear or makes a tackle or organises the team all the way around. And that's why they're conceding goals. And that's why it's been Mavinga, Simon, Zavaleta, Auro. Everyone's had a go at being a culprit for one of the goals. Bradley, Osorio, Delgado, Hamilton, strikers. Ball coming forward too easily is a striker's fault, KJ.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a team that's not defending collectively.
There's a number of times when Anua just stole the ball off him and started a quick counter-attack because of
that
it.
one when they put him through, wasn't it? And the line was so high, Jordan Hamilton could have held the ball up. He got dispossessed. I didn't see a man who was fighting hard to go and win the ball back.
No.
I just saw a guy who somewhat gave up. He lost the ball.
This is my point, and this is why you can speak all of what you've just done so well for 2 or 3 minutes that I could never do because of you've done it and you've lived it. But the reason why I set it up like that is because you just mentioned Hamilton. Deficiencies can be covered up by mentality.
Yeah.
Can't they?
Work rate.
Just
work.
Work rate. Mentality, ability to stop things, whatever you can do. And I think that is the genuine concern of every TFC fan right now, is that they know that Eric Zavaleta isn't a starting centre-back every single week. Yeah. Eric Zavaleta knows that.
Yeah.
They know that Auro isn't the best right-back in MLS. He should know that. But they can give the benefit of the doubt to these players, talent-wise. They can all argue they should be replaced, but you can't make an all-star in every single position in the league, okay? But it's the other stuff that they're asking questions about. And this comes back down to the coaches. #AskAFP. Tim asks, is Greg Vanny's job on the line? And these questions, whether we can answer them right now or not, are starting to be asked by fans. Yeah. And if fans are asking that, other people are going to be asking it. Yeah. Because this is the issue, is when you think about our players playing for coaches, those are the things you look at. Those are 8 points from the last 9 games. Last season, they couldn't wait to finish 2018. Can't wait for 2018 there's been a wrong mentality in this group. We need to get rid of the bad apples. We need to move forward for 2019. They come out the gates, win 3 games in a row in 2019, albeit against some abject teams. And then they've gone on a run now where they've got 8 points from 9 games. They've conceded twice in 8 of the 12 games already. 20 last year out of 34. So it's a similar average, a little bit more this year, concerning. you're not going to do anything in this league conceding 2 goals every week.
Yeah.
And that is this is the issue. It's not just a personnel issue. It's not just, we haven't got good defenders. Even if you don't think you've got the right defenders and you go with a 3 today and you play Ashton Morgan a 3, which you're not in an ideal situation going to do.
Yeah.
When are they going to just say, we're going to go out there and we're not going to defend, we're not going to give up anything today? Like, performance on Wednesday by DC was slated by some people in the Toronto media this week. Right. Slated by them. People went out of their way to have a go at them. How dare you play an MLS game like that?
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw TFC do that?
Yeah.
If TFC had played like that today in RSL, that's the kind of game you want to see from Toronto FC. Yeah. Things are not going well right now. We've got guys up front who are missing chances for fun, can't score. Our best player's on the bench who's not been fit. Let's go out there and make sure that we give them nothing. When was the last time we saw that?
We don't see it because they can't do it. They can't do it. They can talk about it and I think they tried it in Atlanta, for example, to be hard to beat, much like a DC, and they're nowhere near good enough to even do that because the whole tactics around that team is the whole mentality. It's not even tactics. It's actually mentality. It's a group mindset. Is not about stopping goals going into the back of your net, and that's a big problem. And that, to me, if I was a head coach at TFC, I'd be really concerned about that because either I'm not putting them out there with the right mindset or they're not listening to me.
Exactly.
So it's a big worry. Yeah. It's a big worry if you're Greg Vanny because and Greg Vanny was a defender, so I'm sure he's not going away for any kind of defending mindset. He's never been a defensive coach, but he is a defender. He knows what it takes to defend in MLS. We're not seeing a team who are prepared to go and put their bodies on the line, to go and work for each other, to defend as a collective unit, to deny space in between the lines, to come narrow at the right times, to go and address people, double up on quality wide players within MLS. We're seeing a bunch of individuals that are thinking about when this play breaks down with the opposition, how am I going to get to the other side and how am I going to then try and be creative? And then on top of that, in fairness, we're seeing no creativity. So I don't get it because to me, this is a team through the lack of recruitment and the troubles that they had in the window that should just be saying, okay, bunker down till early mid-July when the window reopens. Maybe we can get a player or two then. We're going to have to get a player or two then. We're going to be difficult to beat. We're going to play a certain style. It might not be that attractive, but it will be a way of picking up points, picking up wins, keeping us in the hunt, keeping us relevant, keeping the confidence up, not allowing the fan base to get on our backs and any negativity. Guys like us talking about it in our podcast just look like a tough team. You can never criticise a tough team. You can say, yeah, they don't have ability, they don't have this, don't have that. You can't criticise them because you see the effort. I'm not seeing the effort to defend, and that is a massive concern.
And that's the reason why we bring it up. And Greg Vanny's comments again, that's what makes it perplexing.
Yeah.
When he's praising the effort after a game like that, you start to wonder what the reason is behind that. Finally, before we get to Canada-Mexico from BMO with the women's game, the mentality needs to be discussed again once more. We've talked a lot about the lack of balance here in the formation. That's not a show for today. The mentality is Alejandro Pozuelo gets sent off.
Yeah.
And he gets sent off because he's frustrated.
Yeah.
He said after the game, he admitted that it was a red card. He went around and apologized for everybody. But he was a frustrated man the other night. Yeah. And I know the TFC had 35 shots and they didn't score. But he wasn't frustrated because they had 35 shots, didn't score. He was frustrated because he didn't have enough good players around him. Yeah. That's why he's frustrated. He's walking off and he's disappointed with the lack of quality around him and the lack of endeavour to play at the level. Good players, top players, want to play with top players.
Of course.
And right now he's not playing with enough of them.
He's not. And it's building, or was building, wasn't it? And it came to the fore, when he did that second yellow card. You saw it coming. You've been seeing it for weeks and weeks, and it's because he's not allowed to play the game that he's best served to do. You know, the game that we saw against New York City, his debut, and the early games of the season where he's in really dangerous areas and he's getting the ball. He doesn't trust his teammates already, so he's having to come deeper and go into areas to try and get the ball, and he's playing passes and people are not in the same wavelength and mindset, and so he's becoming more and more frustrated because of that. He understands that it's going to be a toil. He's probably a little bit tired because he'll be shocked with the difficulties of MLS, the travel, the heat, the different things that are coming into altitude, and he lashed out. and he deserved to go. And it was 2 stupid bookings. And he got booked in a game. He allowed his emotions to boil over in a game that was away from TFC within 30 minutes. And there's a huge game coming up next Sunday. Huge game for his football club, for his head coach who brought him there, his general manager, a whole organisation who are relying on him for really the only creativity in the team. And now he's going to miss that, KJ, because he's petulance.
Yeah, no doubt. And boy, oh boy, if things go well. If you lose at home to San Jose, you think losing away for Salt Lake? Boy, oh boy, be careful there. Before we get to Shawnee in the headlines, Canada said goodbye to locals by beating Mexico 3-0 as they leave for Europe and the Women's World Cup in France that gets going on the 7th of June on TSN. Canada won 3-0. Christine Sinclair got another goal, just 3 away now from the record. And in the end, a convincing win and a good win with a lot of morale.
Yeah, a lot of morale, a lot of good stuff out there. They were playing a Mexico team that didn't really have anything going forward, did they? So I think they knew they could.
A lot of young players. They didn't make the World Cup. So
they've got a bright future. Mexican soccer's really on the up. Women's soccer, it's been fabulous to watch how the nation's got behind that in terms of attendances and the qualities coming. There'll be one to watch in the future, but at the moment they're still learning. They had nothing going forward. I think that gave Canada confidence to really go in the front foot, create some pressure. I thought Ginny and Becky was outstanding in the first half, especially we were watching that first half pretty closely. She was terrific. She was everywhere. She played off the left in a front 3 with Prince and Sinclair. Very exciting. She had the license to come inside. I think she could be one of the stars of the World Cup for the national team. And Sinclair got her goal. She does what she does best, doesn't she?
Yeah. Important, I think.
Yeah, she reminds me that she's a female Alan Shearer for me. You know,
it's a good shout.
She doesn't need to have such an impact in the game. She's just got such a mindset. She'll wait on her opportunity, KJ. She knows she's a calm finisher. She'll find the back of the net. When the chance comes, she puts it away. She gets one step closer. It was a good afternoon for the national team. I think they've had a good recent few games. There's tougher tests to come. There's many things to like. Buchanan wasn't there. She was with our squad, who, congratulations to them, won the Women's Champions League.
Yeah, Leon won 4-1 over Barcelona in the final. Yeah.
So that was nice to see. She was away there. This is one of the stars. She'll be coming back. A lot of things to like. Just can't wait for it to get started.
Yeah, Hedberg with the hat-trick, who won't be at the World Cup.
Big shame, isn't it?
Massive shame.
Biggest player in women's soccer is not going to be there.
My favourite, Jennifer Morazan, did get a goal, though, so to make it to 4-1. So looking forward to watching her in the World Cup. And a reminder, we will be previewing the Women's World Cup as we get closer to that. And Canada's campaign gets going on Montpellier on 10th of June, I think 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific. And of course, they'll go on later to play New Zealand and finish off against the Netherlands, all in Group E. Over to you, Shawnee, for this week's headlines.
Speaking of beating records with Christine Sinclair, Chris Wondolewski broke the MLS all-time scoring record with a boom today with 4 goals, passing Landon Donovan. Assuming that he retires at the end of the season, how will we remember Chris Wondolewski as a player and as a goal scorer?
Well, first of all, I remember him for the fact that he scores 4 goals when he beat the record. That's
brilliant.
That's incredible. So 4 goals. He's barely played this season either. I mean, he actually started a few games at the start of the season, and then they started losing a lot of games. Yeah. He had to truly figure it out.
Yeah.
Danny Houston started getting a lot more minutes than him, and then he comes back and gets 4. Every credit that he's done that. Just a true professional, a man that has proven people time and time again that it's wrong, and again proven people wrong, and again back to that word again, mentality.
Yeah, every time you think of a goal scorer, you think of mentality, don't you?
Yeah,
the highs, the lows that they go through, the droughts. The top goal scorers never let it affect them, KJ. They just keep going, and this guy's a proper man, isn't he? He just goes about his business. So much respect for him. Played against him. I don't think he'll mind me saying he's squeezed every ounce out of his career. That's the only thing you can do. When you look in that mirror at the end of your career, did I give and do everything? But this guy certainly has. He's a record goal scorer. It's a fine record that will be a difficult one to beat, and just a proper man, a proper pro. I'm delighted for him. Great accomplishment, and to do it in style like that's
incredible.
Magnificent.
Yeah. Every credit.
Keeping on with MLS, Bruce Arena has returned, this time in New England. So for this franchise who's been on a bit of a down, is this a turnaround for the franchise?
I hope so. Arena's very polarizing. He's a very polarizing character in US soccer, in international soccer. I have to say, I heard an interview with him once. I think it was over an hour long, a sit down with him. And some of the stuff he had to say, I was like taking notes. Incredible, like intelligent leader of a mind. And then obviously sometimes, he's struggled in some areas he's been with, but some of his success you can't argue with either. So I think he's got a lot of work to do. It's a team that has got some significant holes, and to be frank, again, let's keep with the theme of the podcast. They're an MLS 2 team that have not spent enough money to keep up with the way the modern day MLS is going. Yeah. I look at them right now as a team that has been... They're almost a sleeping giant. They could be amazing, couldn't they, if they wanted to be. Yeah. And maybe in a few years' time, we might be seeing a complete rebrand of a team. I don't know, call them whatever you want, the Boston Bears, I don't care, in downtown Boston. Yeah, and suddenly they're amazing. Do you know what I mean? That could happen. But right now, he looks like he's more than a caretaker, but a man that needs to get him away from just the apathy that's been around the franchise for too long. Yeah,
they need some stability, and I think that's why they've went for Bruce. They obviously want someone with been there, done it, experience, and Bruce certainly has that. We cannot argue that. I just wonder if he's the energy that's going to be needed to shape this team, the coaching ability, the sort of everyday work that's going to need to be done in the training ground here, KJ, with this team. And it is one of the most difficult franchises in MLS at the moment. There's not a lot of positivity around New England Revolution. There's not a lot of creativity in the team. They're playing in a big American football stadium that's too large, that they don't get a lot of attendance.
They're not cool, are they?
They're not cool at all. They play on a turf that's rotten, that is just horrible to play on. It's flat. It's dangerous, to be honest, to play football on. And so I just don't know if he's got the energy to take all the negatives and come in every day and work on these players, make them a little bit better, and make this franchise somewhat cool again. And that's going to be the key if he still wants it enough, if he still has that burning desire to succeed.
Moving on to Europe, Griezmann said his goodbye to Atletico Madrid fans and looks to be on his way maybe to Barcelona. How do you guys think he'd fit into the Barca 11?
Yeah, I think he'd fit fine. Obviously it's a difficult one to say, okay, where does he play? Where does Suarez play? Where does Messi play? But I think it's a great signing if they accomplish it. We talked a little bit about this week. We had a La Liga night in downtown Toronto, Twitter Canada. At the end of the day, he's a similar age to what Suarez was bought. Suarez is now 4 or 5 years older, getting injured a little bit more. They need a little bit more world-class players, I think. And at this $120 million buyout clause, to get a world-class player for $120 million is a steal these days. You can just burn $120 million on nothing of football these days. So you can buy 3 or 4 players of genuine rubbish and just waste your team. So look, if you can get a player of that caliber, I think you make it work. Brings a winning mentality to the group as well. They're getting younger all the time, aren't they? Bringing in Langley and Malcolm and Dembele and Artur. They're trying to get younger at the same time. Well, you can't go through a fully rebuild. They're still winning games. 8 out of the last 11 championships now they've secured. So I think it's a win-win for everybody really here. And obviously, apart from Atletico Madrid, will sorely miss him. Yeah, they'll sorely miss him. We knew that was going to happen at some point, that he was going to outgrow Atletico Madrid. And I think it came a little bit later than I expected. He's a wonderful player, world class. I just not certain where he fits in this team. I think they need pace, KJ, and I'm not suggesting he's a slouch by any stretch of the imagination, but he's not the quickest. He doesn't bring that raw pace that I think this team needs. You look at it, and Messi's Messi. He's incredible, but Suarez is getting on a little bit. Coutinho has not worked. Rakitic, Busquets, Vidal, they're getting a little bit one-paced. Dembele plays sometimes, but he doesn't have the consistency, and so I just don't know where he fits. Not sure where Dembele runs to when he runs anyway.
Just open the gates and run out.
Marches to the beat of his own drum on and off the field.
So that's my only concern here. Where does he fit? I think it was a signing that they had to make. If I'm any big team in Europe, I'm paying the 120 million, because even if it doesn't work, you're selling him in a year or two and you're making money on that probably, because he's an incredible football player.
Although you make a great point, sorry to interrupt, that sometimes when transfers don't go great, that can often be the profile, is that you just force him in.
Yeah. That's why they're going to do that, and he's going to play.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so if he doesn't gel with Messi, and there's real concerns. Not a lot of people gel with Messi.
No.
He is the star. And so when you come in as a superstar, you have to learn very quickly that, wherever you are in the rankings, you're below Messi.
Yeah.
And Suarez did it.
And Suarez, to be fair, stretches defenders. He runs beyond. Griezmann often
Such a
loves
smart
to come.
player, isn't he? Yeah.
Griezmann loves to come into an area where Messi likes
Plug
to go.
his space up, doesn't he?
Messi's what
So you want people that stretch that space to create it for Messi.
That's right.
And I don't think Griezmann will do that. He can play off a side and he can be very effective and he's brilliant defensively. But then in a team that isn't quite as set up as Atletico Madrid to go and break really quickly as a unit, I just worry that he might become somewhat average.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see that because he is a world-class player. I want to see a guy that goes somewhere where he can really utilise all his strengths, and I don't think Barcelona is the best fit in European football for him.
Bayern Munich were crowned champions of Germany today, with both Ribéry and Robben scoring in their final matches for the club. Thoughts on Munich's championship season?
A massive missed opportunity by the rest of Germany.
Yeah.
What do you
regret it, won't they?
Like a team in transition with a lot of problems won the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Like, what a chance Dortmund had. What a chance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just gave up so many silly goals near the end of the season, bad goalkeeping, you name it.
Yeah.
Nobody, as Bayern Munich sure did, but many people thought that this was the year they weren't going to win it. What were they, 5th around Christmas?
Yeah.
Just stormed to the title in the end, and they kicked up another gear. But I just think that is this is a team that's going to be better next year. So look out, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, KJ. It's just the chance was there to compete with them this year, but I think staying with the theme of this podcast is it's a show about mentality, isn't it? About winners.
Well, we're talking about winners a lot this year. It's the end of the season,
and about strength of character. And finding a way and finding a formula at the right time. And the right time of seasons between February and mid-May, end of May. And these guys have done it, haven't they? They've been exceptional since the winter break. They've found answers. Some of the young guys have stepped up. Gnabry's been sensational.
Very good, yeah.
He's been really good. There's been a number of them. Some of the older guys have been great. I think Sulla can be a top centre-half for them at the back as well. And in fairness to Kovac, he's a classy character, isn't he? He's took a lot of stick. He's kept quiet. He's did his job. He's never complained about having to fit Muller in and still having the presence of Ribéry and Robben and everyone around. Hummels, Boateng could go on and on. He just kept quiet. He's went about his business. He's found a way to get it done at the end of the year. And I think it's a tremendous achievement by him actually to win this title. And I also think that it shows you the true winning mentality of the players that have achieved it.
And congrats to Alphonso Davies.
Brilliant.
Who gets to win. He got to lift the shield as well. And finally on that enormous shield that they win, which is a fantastic trophy. Anyone who hasn't seen the James Rodriguez photograph.
I knew you were going to say
that.
You
knew it, didn't you? I'm just not having this. James Rodriguez, who if you've forgotten, and we'd give you every right to forget, has been part of Bayern Munich's championship campaign this season. Took a photograph in the nude, I think, with being covered up by this enormous shield. And he's got all these muscles. He looks fantastic, to be fair to him. But
he's ripped.
I was just like, you've barely played the last few months, mate.
A word on these two guys, though, Ribéry and Robben. Sensational,
incredible,
just unbelievable what they've brought to that football club and the real connection that they've made. A Dutchman and a Frenchman playing with a German club. Normally, the real stars of Bayern Munich are Germans, aren't they? And these two guys have been embraced and brought in. They've delivered. They've been fantastic players to the world game, but certainly to Bayern Munich as a football club.
The dream signings. They're the signings you dream of when you make a signing like that of a player in the 20s, and I just hope you stay with me and play at the highest level forever. And that's what they did. Wherever they go now, they'll never be like the same again. They've peaked, and that's the dream. That's the dream of every big club, is to buy a player like that who can be forever be known as your player and play at the highest level.
Earlier this week, it was announced that Allegri is not coming back to Juventus next season. Who do you think steps into the job? And at this point, do you think I could coach Juventus to a Scudetto?
Yes. Yes, you could. Stevie, you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Who do you think steps into the job? What do you reckon?
It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I can think of a great candidate. You got one?
I got one.
Okay.
Maurizio Sarri.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What do you think about that?
You think he might take it?
If he's offered the Juve job, 100%. 100%.
He has to go back?
Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think he would probably be keen on it.
He's had enough.
Yeah.
he's had enough. He wants to go back and smoke some cigarettes instead of the pitch. You know, like he had a chance to mold the team a little bit into his reign.
Yeah.
Like move away from let's be honest, Hazard's leaving. The project's getting harder.
Yeah.
You know, he's had enough.
Ban, transfer ban.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. I mean, Juve comes calling.
He wins the Europa League. He finishes fourth in the Champions League, and he just says thanks bye. Saves his reputation and goes back to the biggest club and one of the biggest in Europe, biggest in Italian
let's
football.
Be honest, he's not that far away from getting sacked because everybody at Chelsea's like 1 minute from being sacked anyway. I
like that one.
Sadie, there you go.
Last week, Canada's under-17 secured their spot in the under-17 World Cup. How big are these moments for the national team program?
Enormous. We were following it, weren't we? The penalty went in. It was great. I don't know what show we were doing. We've done that many this week, but we were doing a show when it was happening at the same time. I think. We saw it when it went in, and this is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. This is important. For the national team program, we've had a lot of success at the women's. We're getting semi-finals in the youth level this year already, and the men have already said, that we need to keep doing this. It's not just about the men's national team at the very top. The pathway forward is important in the development in this game, and we just watched it and we were thrilled for the young lads.
Yeah, thrilled for them. I know a few of the young lads, the TFC group. There's some exciting players within that group of lads, and well done to them. It was a big achievement to win that big game, much like they're a bigger team, the A team, the men's national team is going to have to do it at the Gold Cup in the summer. You're going to have to win a big match. They did it in penalty kicks, Costa Rica. Lost quite heavy at the US, the semis, but this is about building, this is about being at big moments, qualifying for the World Cup that's going to come up in Brazil, and being prepared and learning from that, taking that experience on in your careers. And credit to these guys. I'm excited for them, and I hope they can go to the World Cup and do the country proud.
Yeah, congrats, boys. Keep it going. All right, keeping with the theme of talking about winners on the show and mentality, earlier this week we chatted with Wayne Rooney, I did for TSN, and we're lucky now to get the full interview for you folks. So take a listen, and we'll be back soon. All right, Wayne, I want to talk to you today a lot about greatness. Do you consider yourself a great player? What do you think when people like myself or other players call you great?
No, I think great players, barring I think Messi and Ronaldo, they become great when you finish playing. I think a lot of the players in the past, they finish playing and then people truly realise how good they was or how great he was. And I think Messi and Ronaldo are probably the only two you can say are great and are world class while they're still playing. So, and on myself, people have opinions, good, bad. So it's I take whatever people think. It's great if people think you've done great and you've had a good career. So I appreciate that when people say that, but I really just look for the next game. Really look back and think what I've achieved in the game, or I tend to look forward and think what's still left to achieve.
But when you do finish, you will obviously be known as the greatest goal scorer in Manchester United history, the greatest goal scorer in England history, in the national team as well. What does that mean to you that you've got both of those accolades, surpassing the greats of Bobby Charlton?
Yeah, of course, it's something which I'm extremely proud about, and to become the record goal scorer for both Manchester United and England is something which I never really dreamed about, never thought about. I play football for the love of the game. I love playing, I love watching it. So to have these records and breaks of Bobby's records, which stood for so long, means a lot. And I think I'm not crazy. I know there's better goal scorers out there that has been better goal scorers than what I am. I've had time on my hands, and again, I don't play just to score goals. I like to be involved in the game and play the game, and I live to play football, and these records come with it, which is great.
The enthusiasm you talk about there, how much you love the game, I think it's infectious. I think you can see anybody who watches you can see it. Your teammates certainly respond to that as well. Can you explain to me what that feeling is like when you score a goal? Is it still the same now as it was when you were a little boy in the streets of Liverpool?
Yeah, it's incredible. It's obviously, besides winning a trophy with your team, it's the best feeling you can have on the pitch. And I think I said a few years ago, actually, it's almost like you're in a daydream when you're playing the game, and obviously there's fans there and they're singing or they're doing whatever, but you're almost blanked out, and it's like you're playing football underwater, and when you score, it's that moment of when you come up for a breath and you realise and you feel all the crowd and you feel your teammates celebrating, but it's a very strange feeling.
It's a great way of describing it. I think I read a while ago you've scored some great goals, but is it your favourite, the overhead kick against Man City in the derby? Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's obviously, it was a nice goal, and to win the derby, and we were fighting with Man City to win the title that year also, and I think it was the 79th minute I scored, so it was late on to go 2-1 up, and just the meaning of the goal and how it went in. It's probably technically the hardest goal I scored was the Newcastle volley I scored, but I think looking back, the Man City one is my favourite.
This discussion about greatness, I think, is so interesting because I gravitate towards greatness of all sports, and I know you're the same. You love boxing, you love golf, and you took on an epic journey to get to the Masters this year, I believe, didn't you? Was that in just to try and witness greatness? Yeah,
well, it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to go to watch. I've been to British Open, I've been to a few other tournaments, but I think the Masters is something I've always wanted to experience. And we played Colorado away, and we were off the Sunday and Monday. Had 2 days off, so we organised to go on the Saturday night, early hours Sunday morning, and get in for the final round, and everything went against us. The weather meant the leaders were they're all teeing off shotgun starting, so that meant if the flight was on time, we'd get there to watch the leading group, basically. And then the flight got delayed, then meant we missed the connecting flight. So it was a long journey. We got there for the last 4 holes, but
right.
When we got there, me, Steve and Chris, we said to each other, just it'd be perfect if Tiger wins. Just when you talk about great sportsmen, then he's right up there, if not the best. He's incredible. So to be there to see him win the major and win Augusta was a special moment.
You played in some great teams, but when you play against great teams, Wayne, can you appreciate that as an opponent? I think about you won the Champions League final yourself, but I think about the second one against Barcelona, the goal that you scored in the game, but that team was just so brilliant that day. Is it something you can appreciate and look back on and think, I played against a truly great side there?
Yeah, I remember we lost 2 finals to Barcelona, and I remember sitting down just thinking any other team I think in Europe at that time we would have beat. It was just coming up against that team, and I think possibly the best team in the history of the sport, and it was just a shame that we ended up playing them twice in the final. But no, of course you can appreciate, I think that's the one team where I remember sat at home actually watching Barcelona play in a Champions League game, and my wife was in the kitchen, and I was sat in just off the kitchen watching it, and I stood up clapping, and she was looking at me like, what are you doing? But I think teams like that, and some of the players, Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, I think people don't really look at them that much, but you just have to appreciate these players.
And it's been a great week for English club football, obviously, with the 4 teams getting to the final and some of the miraculous style. I'm sure you were watching. What were you thinking when you were watching what was happening last week?
Devastated when Liverpool got there. But obviously I respect Liverpool as a football club, and what they achieved to overturn that against Barcelona is incredible. And then obviously the Tottenham game also, 3-0 down over the 2 legs to come back. Was brilliant for them, and hopefully they can put on a good performance in the final. And then obviously Chelsea, Arsenal, Europa League. It's great for English football to have the 4 teams in the 2 major finals. It's great, and I think you can just start to feel. I think we went through a phase from 2005 to maybe 2011 where English teams were getting to Champions League finals regular, and it dried off a little bit. But I think you can just start to feel that coming back, and I think that's with a lot of help of some of the managers who've come into the Premier League, Guardiola, your Klopps, Pochettino, who've been fantastic for the league, and they're getting back up there, so hopefully that'll continue.
Is it something that you were torn with on Sunday? Obviously Man City and Liverpool going for the Premier League title. Is that, as a Man United and Evertonian, was that difficult to watch a little bit with those teams going for?
I weren't torn. No, I do. Obviously I wanted City to win. I think growing up in Liverpool, being an Everton fan, playing for Everton, and then playing for Manchester United, Liverpool is the one team I don't want to win anything. So, but yeah, I think it's hard watching Man City and Liverpool all season, challenging for the Premier League, and I think what they've both done this year has been fantastic. And but as a ex-Manchester United player, to watch them 2 challenging is difficult, and hopefully I think with Manchester United it'll take a little bit of time, but they need to make the right decisions on the players who come in, and maybe tweaking a few things behind the scenes which will help them get back.
Talking about greatness, what's the greatest thing for you about living in the United States?
I think people ask me that, and what's the differences. I think the big difference for me is the food. It's so different. But it's, again, I think at home I live my life where I take the kids to school, go to training, pick them up, and then go home and be a dad with my children. So and that's the same here. So you almost get into a routine where it doesn't matter if you're in England or over here in the States. It's the same routine, and obviously we don't have all the family around us, which we have back home, so that's a bit different. But other than that, no, I think my kids have settled really well, and they're enjoying school, and so we're happy. You
mentioned the food. Is that the greatest thing you miss from back home, food?
Probably, I think the small things which we've had a few things sent over.
Right.
Some of the crisp and chocolate, which is so different.
We've got some
we've had some of that sent over. But no, I think just in general the food is so different.
Right.
It seems a bit fresher in England. So,
comedy? Do you miss? I miss comedy a little bit in England. Do you miss comedy over here a little bit? The comedy of TV programs and shows. We still watch a lot of the stuff from back home. My friend got me a sling box, so I can still watch my Sky TV at home. But no, to be honest, we don't, because of the time difference, a lot of the shows are on during the kids getting picked up from school or just before, so we don't watch a lot of it, and we tend to have a couple of hours in the evening when the kids are in bed where we watch a TV series or a movie. Last thing for you, and thanks so much for your time. The greatest thing you're looking forward to post playing career for Wayne Rooney, what is it that you're looking forward to the most?
Management, I think. It's my whole life I've been involved in football, and it's something which I love. It's what I know. That's in anything. So it'd be a shame not to go into management and try it out and hopefully be successful. And I've seen so many players who I've played with who have got so much knowledge of the game, and it's a shame not to see them give it a go and see what happens. So that's what I want to do. I'm working on obviously doing my badges, and hopefully when I finish playing, I get a chance somewhere and take it.
I have no doubt you'd be a great manager. You're a great player. You continue to have a great career. You're in a great city. Welcome to it. Enjoy the week while you're here. And thanks again for your time.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for TSN there for the audio on Wayne Rooney, and it was a privilege to sit down with him, to be honest, mate. Yeah. And that was obviously for our TSN coverage of the game midweek against DC United from BMO Field. Rooney is a player that you played against often, and I've covered for many years. And quite frankly, I've never met anybody who doesn't like him. Mm-hmm. I've never met anybody, any player who have ever read anything about them or spoke about Rooney. I've never heard one bad word about him, and that for me is a tremendous legacy.
What can I say about him? One of the brightest English footballing brains that's ever been in the history of the game. That's how amazing he was, KJ, as a player. And I think if you've ever been his teammate or you've played against him, you can understand that through his movements. There's good players, there's fast players, there's skillful players, and there's these cerebral minds, these lads that come along at such a young age. When he had this brain of a experienced player, he was exceptional. His movement, the way that he did things, and the other thing that springs to mind when I think about Wayne Rooney is his focus and his determination, and to have so many people say things about you, negative things and comments. He's past it. He's this. He's that, and just to be professional and quiet and go through your entire career and turn up, put your boots on, pull your socks up and get on with the job. I think it's remarkable. I never came anywhere near that. I don't know what that kind of scrutiny is like.
Right.
I can imagine, because I've experienced some kind of scrutiny, but that's another level. And to just keep calm and professional through that is I've got a lot of respect for him for that reason, and a brilliant professional. It's great to see him here in MLS. He's bringing that professionalism and that experience to MLS now, and really bringing out the best in his players.
You and I have a mutual friend, Cody Royal, who wrote a book called Where Others Won't.
Yeah.
For anybody out there, you should go buy it. It's a great book about mentality and leadership in business and sport. Excuse me. It's called Where Others Won't, and I think that sums up Wayne Rooney's career.
Yeah.
Where others won't. He's gone places where others won't. You know, he was a boy from Liverpool who played for the blue side, not the red side, hates the red side with a passion, as you heard in that interview, when, doubled down on the fact that he's just his hatred for Liverpool and devastated, and then plays for the blue side, then goes to Manchester, plays for Manchester United. Brave, then challenged Sir Alex Ferguson multiple times over contract disputes and really went at it where others wouldn't, you know what I mean? Really threatened to play for Manchester City when Fergie just was apoplectic about it. Like, why would you ever do that? Mm-hmm. And this was before City were on the verge of that, but there's lots of things like that. Challenged them there, continued to fight. And now comes to Major League Soccer and goes to DC where others wouldn't, and really rose and continue to climb this franchise. And by the way, he's no David Beckham. He's no Steven Gerrard, and he's no Frank Lampard. He's a difference maker on an MLS field and off the field. Significant difference maker, as you can see, whenever you watch DC regularly. So, just brilliant to have him here. And I think hopefully for the next 2 or 3 years, it's great to hear his thoughts also about wanting to give something back in the game and feel like he can have a go at management too. Yeah,
absolutely. I think he's got a lot to give for the game, and I don't see him leaving it. It's in his blood. He's an out and out winner. The stories that you just bring up there, KJ, just tell you, to leave Everton was a tough decision for him. He loves that football club, but he realised he had to leave to win. And so he went to a difficult place for him to go in Manchester United, but he knew that was a perfect scenario. I was at St James's when I was a young lad. I was in the first team squad. Maybe I was about 19, 20 at the time, and the youth team came back, the under-19s. Peter Beardsley was the coach, and I saw Peter at the side of the pitch. And I said, how'd you get on? He said, we were at Everton and we lost 2-0. He said, this 14-year-old scored a brace. And I said, no, this was U19. I said, 14? I actually thought he was lying. I didn't believe him, because I just could never imagine a 14-year-old playing in an under-19 game. The difference in physicality, the quickness of the game, the brain speed that was needed was just too big a step for me. His name was Wayne Rooney.
Right.
So he was playing with the youth team at the U19s at 14. He was playing with the first team at 16. He's just ahead of his time and a brilliant football brain.
Great stuff. You may have remembered on a past show we talked about the card collection that I went to the card collection show, and I said I would bring in a pack of 1994 World Cup cards and open them on the day and then go through them. They're sealed right here. So as I open the pack, maybe you can tell us a 1994 World Cup memory while I open them. Go ahead.
Well, I was kind of young. What I do remember about 94 World Cup was trying to stay up and watch the games in Scotland.
Oh, yeah,
that was a hard thing for me.
I fell asleep during the semi-final. I remember Brazil, Sweden. Yeah, Romario, he woke me up.
Horrible game though, wasn't
Terrible
it?
Game.
Boring.
Thanks, I remember. You give me a reason to fall asleep now. It was a late one, mate.
Well, KJ, I'd always wake up, and it was back in the days where the TV ended. You know, you get that. It would just be like that silly scream. That's right, yeah. And I'd wake up nearly every night, and you know that scream would be on there, and it'd be beeping away, and my parents, God love them, they would let me watch every single game.
Couldn't rewind it back and find out what happened. Could you check your phone? All right, here we go. We got an open now. We just opened Upper Deck Football Calcio World Cup USA 94 cards. Ooh. And the first card is Paul Gascoigne.
Paul Gascoigne.
Look at this.
What a card that is.
It's a special silver Hot Shots England Paul Gascoigne. But it didn't make the 1994 Obviously. World Cup. So that's a fail right away. That's not good. Why have we got him in here? And we've got the next one is Norway, Jan Åge Fjørtoft.
Oh, what a player.
What a player. And
Swindon, if I remember correctly, played a little bit there.
Have you seen him these days? He does reporting on the pitch.
Yeah, incredible. Well, actually.
Yeah, it says on the back of the card, an exciting young forward, Fjørtoft has developed into one of Norway's best finishers using a combination of strength and speed. Age 27. There you go. So
good striker, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a good striker. We got him as well. Let's see who else we've got. We've got Ireland's Dennis Irwin.
Dennis Irwin, what a fullback.
What a fullback.
Consistent.
He had for Manchester United.
They had a great World Cup, didn't he?
He did. He did have a great World Cup. Yeah. So we got him. We've got Italy's Giuseppe Signori. Left foot striker, obviously.
Penalty kick.
What
Two
a player.
steps. Remember, a couple of steps and whip it in the corner.
Using lightning pace and an ability to score from almost any angle, Giuseppe Signori has become Italy's #1 goal scorer. He steals in from the left wing unnoticed before firing home with his power-packed size 5 boots.
Size 5? That's a tiny foot.
Tiny foot. 40 goals in 3 seasons in the world's best league, it says.
Wow.
World's best league was back then.
Indeed. Past.
There you go. Who else have we got here? We've got a Russian player I've never heard of, actually. Dmitry Radchenko. Nope. Can't remember him. Sorry. We've got Alberto Garcia Aspe, Mexico. Remember him? I remember Garcia Aspe, actually. I remember him as well.
I feel like I remember that Russian.
Yeah, you remember him? Who else we got here? Yeah. All right. We got Paolo Maldini.
Oh, he was a bit of a player, wasn't he?
One of the best defenders ever. It calls him the world's best left back. Maldini displays a maturity beyond his years and likes to attack at every opportunity. Obviously would go all the way to the final. So that's the pack we've opened there. We'll do it again. We got to do this again. I got some more.
This is good.
This is good. We'll do them again. We'll open some more there. So hopefully you
enjoyed. Cards.
They are nice cards. So hopefully you enjoyed the trip down memory lane. And surely for being the great producer that you are, I know you're a Spurs fan. There you go, mate. You can have Paul Gascoigne, despite it being World Cup 94. I just can't look at that because it reminds me of us not being there.
I'll put that in the corner of my Gaza poster in my spare room.
There you go, mate. Love it. There you go. Paul Gascoigne prize for you. Over to you finally for hashtag AskAFP.
Keeping with a little bit of retro and story time, Chris asks for Caldwell Corner. A lot of people are really enjoying your story time. So wondering if you could talk about Wigan versus Manchester City.
Helps them get to sleep.
Wigan, Manchester City in 2013. Any good stories?
So I was in New York for that game.
Yeah.
My brother was obviously involved for Wigan, and I'd spent the season before or 2 seasons before, I can't remember, but I'd been at Wigan recently and I knew the majority of players that were playing in that game. So I was in New York.
Because you were in MLS by then.
Yes. Well, I was just coming to MLS.
Yes.
So I'd finished my season at Birmingham. I think I was to be in Toronto on the Tuesday maybe after this final on the Saturday. And I was in New York and I was having a couple of beers and wind down, as, you know, I'm sometimes entitled to do.
You're not having a barbecue?
So I was in New York, Shawnee, and I got up really early because I really wanted to watch the game. I was hungover. Some would say I was probably a little drunk, and it wasn't that easy to find a bar to watch the game. So I wanted to go to didn't want to watch it in a little small telly in some corner. I wanted to go to a sports bar and watch the game, and I found this fantastic sports bar. I go in there. I have no real, ambitions or no real thoughts that anything's going to happen. I think I just need to be there and watch. Hope my brother gets on. He was substitute for 20 minutes. And I sit there, KJ, Bloody Mary, because I can't get a beer down me because I'm still so hungover.
Breakfast of champions.
Yes. And I watched it unfold, and it was amazing. It was one of the best. I was on my own the entire time. I think the guys came along a bit later, but they were in their scratchers for most of the game.
Right.
And I watched it and I celebrated, and by the time the game finished, I was a little bit tipsy again, to say the least. And the guys called me for the bus. Ben Watson's a very good friend of mine. I was close to Ben. I still am. I don't see him as much, unfortunately, but Ben and I were very close when we were teammates, and I'll never forget them phoning me for the bus.
Amazing.
Ben is a brilliant character for anybody that knows him. Wonderful player as well. West Brom, Forest, Wigan, Palace, great midfielder. Ben scored the winning goal, and Ben was sitting there with the FA Cup on the bus, just with the biggest smile on his face, but he has this calm demeanour. He's just like, it's the FA Cup, Steve. I'll never forget it. He's got the accent. It's the FA Cup on FaceTime. Amazing. Such a great day for a football club.
That was a great day. I remember this was one of the games, and you know me, I watch a lot of games on delay without knowing.
Yeah.
People think I'm mad for now in 2019, but I'm still able to do it sometimes. And I like it because then rarely do you remember that you actually watched it later, you know? So for me, I didn't watch the game live for some reason. I think it was the next day, and I didn't know.
That was unbelievable.
Didn't know. And that's what made it even better, because it's the kind of game that if you watch after and you know, there's no drama in it.
Yeah,
Headed goal 90th minute, you know? Headed goal 90th minute winner, but I didn't know. And it was amazing because I remember thinking, well, I remember calling out Mancini for being a fraud anyway. I thought he was, anybody could have he basically almost screwed Man City over.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was so happy Wigan won that day. Good for them.
Nathan asks, is it more likely that Wolves finish higher or lower in the table next season?
Oh, a bit of higher lower of Bruce Forsyth.
Great question.
You know the card game? Higher or lower?
Higher than a five.
Higher than a five. Yeah. I'm going to go, okay, we've got Wolves on the board. Higher or lower? I'm going to go with lower.
Lower.
Yeah, lower than 7th next season.
What does that mean? That means
8th or
right,
10th.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think that the continuity shown by them this season is almost impossible to repeat because they've hardly had any injuries.
50. What was that start? They never had a player injured for more than a week of the season. That is incredible.
Yeah. 15 games in a row where they picked the same team, over the stretch. Not 15 games in a row, but 15 unchanged teams out of 37, which is incredible as well. They have now, this is quite a relative question, Nathan, following Caldwell Corner, because they're now starting the Europa League. They're in the Europa League because Man City won the FA Cup, and they start in July. Yeah. And that we know that can have an impact as well.
Tough.
So all of that, I mean, I think they're going to get better. They're going to sign a few more players, but that nucleus of player, they really only had 14 or 15 players they could really rely on, and one of them was Adama Traore. So, I mean, that's a problem.
They need to sell him quickly.
So that's why I will go with I still think it could be a good season, but 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that.
Yeah, you make some great points there, KJ. I wouldn't disagree with any of them. I was so impressed with them last week at Anfield. I watched them live for the first time, and they're really, really good. They really are so organised. They have such a system. They get the maximum out of every single player. They're fun to watch, and I was thinking if they can just get a bit more depth, and they can maybe add a little bit more quality, although I can't think of what player I'd put out of the team. It would be really harsh on even Bennett or whoever. Cody's been magnificent, Doherty. But if they can just find a little bit more quality, then I think they can really push forward. I think they're going to spend again, but Europa League's always a killer. If you don't have the size of squad, you can't rely on some of your squad players to play either the Europa League games, the group games, or to follow up in the league, then you're going to get hurt. It's tough. We did it at Birmingham. We didn't have a squad. We had a good standard of player for the Championship. We lost a lot of games when we came back from Europe after a great result. We went to Southampton for one of the games. We got tonked, we were just exhausted, and so it takes it out of you. You need the squad. They need to find players that are good enough to make up the numbers in the squad.
Do you ever dream about something and not remember you do it, and then something triggers the dream? I don't know why you just trigger something. I dreamt one of these nights this week, and my dreams are always about football. Outside of that, I can't turn off. I dreamt that Villa signed Brian Bennett. So yeah, maybe we'll win the playoff final.
Noted Villa fan Travis asks, "Who do you have coming up from the Championship playoffs? And do you see the team losing most of the players? Oh, so the team losing to lose most of their players."
Well, if Villa win and Derby lose, they will lose most of them because the best players are on loan.
Yeah.
And, they got some class players, mate.
They're good, young, fresh, exciting.
Yeah, so I can't really say anything else about this. Get a bit nervous talking about it, if I'm honest.
Declare an interest,
I've declared an interest many times. Anybody who's not listening to this or listening to this for the first time, of course, I have an interest in this game. Villa, I've thumped them twice this season in the league. Does that mean anything?
Yeah, it does.
Does it?
I think so.
Okay.
I only go on my one experience, and it meant a lot. We beat
Shouldn't thump teams many often. Is that what you're telling me?
That too. But we beat Sheffield United twice in the season that we did it, and we felt very confident in our opponent that day. And so I do think it has a bearing. I think there'll be a confidence there in Villa. And let's face it, Villa are the favourites. Villa are the team with everything to lose, you could say, because they're the favourites, but they're the dominant team. They have the experience. I think they're the clear favourites.
Shawnee was watching me watch the penalties this week, weren't you? We were preparing for the Rooney interview and we're just hoping that he didn't come down during the penalties.
He would have watched.
Thankfully, Rooney was watching them. He told me. I'm like, I've just been nervous watching my Villa. He goes, just watch them. And so he was watching the penalties, so I ended up watching them with a Blackpool man who was very helpful during the interview of Wayne. Shout out to Chris from DC, from Blackpool, who we were all watching them on the phone. And it was a nerve-wracking day, but we had enough quality to see it off in the end, and we'll see a week Monday to see how it goes. But they were some dramatic playoffs. Yeah. Incredible drama. Leeds just bottled it.
The atmosphere in Ellen Road, though, was electric.
Was it ever?
I was with a buddy of mine, actually through a buddy of mine, Andy from Leeds. If he's listening, he's been here in Toronto this week, and he was at Ellen Road on Wednesday night. He flew out to Toronto on Thursday morning, and he said the atmosphere was better than Valencia and the big European nights in the early 2000s. He said it was absolutely electric. He was gutted at the end of the game.
Frank Lampard not shaking the hand of Marcelo Bielsa until after he went on and celebrated, and Bielsa walked on the pitch to find him, and then he shook his hand.
Is that right?
And he said afterwards, I probably should have shook his hand before that. Not really an apology.
I'll tell you, Frank's never came out of this whole spat with Leeds very well, in my opinion.
No.
He's looked a little bit petty on a lot of occasions, and I understand why, but it's football. Let it go, move on, and that's poor. You go and shake the manager's hands first, no matter what.
He was too busy doing his stupid celebration. But anyway, enough about Lampard. John Terry versus Lampard at Wembley.
What a matchup. Dylan Dyson asks, what is your favourite formation and why?
Stevie's big on his formations, aren't you?
Don't have a favourite formation. They're irrelevant, absolutely pointless. It's the most overused thing in football. Formations are ridiculous. Teams defend, attack, defend. They're fluid with the change into the formation, so it's just ridiculous. And you can't choose a favourite formation unless you know who your players are.
Yeah,
that's the key here. There's so many managers that try and fit the wrong guys into 3-5-2 or 4-2-3-1, and it's silly. You take your players, you look at them, then you come up with a favourite formation or two or three that you work on, that you allow the players to be fluid and to change between.
I do like shapes and formations a little bit more than Stevie, but I understand he's completely right in everything he says. I will say this, I like teams for the most part who play with a back four. I like a true holding midfielder with toughness that can stop attacks and generally bring a strength tempo to an attack. And in front of him, I like to play two midfielders, so call it whatever you want, and then I like two wide players who can attack and come inside, and a forward. So some would say that's 4-3-3. I often think 4-1-4-1, but whatever you want. Something like that for me is the best kind of shape to fit the best on there. And then obviously it's a different shape with the ball and without it. But I'm talking about that true defensive midfielder that can dictate the play with and without the ball.
Fair enough. Stevie, 2 center backs or 3 center backs? Did you care if you were lined up in a 3 or a 2?
I preferred the 2, Sean. I think that it was a bit more normal to me being in the 2, but I played in some brilliant 3s as well. And I think it depends, I mean, there's different ways of playing a 3 as well. There's that sort of middle guy who, back in my day especially, not so much now, he was a bit of a sweeper, so he had to be a bit smarter, know when to give depth, when he can cover over. Connor Cody, for example, did that really well at Anfield a number of times. He covered the more aggressive Bennett and Bolly. So that was one way. And then if you had a kind of ability to step forward, then playing in the left or right, I often played in the left at times, because I was quite comfortable on my left hand side. I could step forward into play and play some passes, but two is better. Two is a more fluid formation. The recent success of Chelsea's meant that the threes came back into the kind of the popular sort of formation, but I think that 4 at the back's the way to go.
Great. Simon asks, what in your opinion needs to be done to improve coach education in Canada? It's a loaded question.
What needs to be done to improve coach education? Well, we need better coaches to educate the coaches first and foremost. We don't have enough quality coaches here in Canada, and we need not just good coaches, but good coach educators. That's a key thing, Sean. I was lucky enough to go through my UEFA licenses at the Scottish FA, and we have some of the best. We're renowned for being one of the best coaching licenses in the world. Jose Mourinho, Andre Villas-Boas, all the magnificent Scottish coaches came through it. Sir Alex Ferguson, Alex Smith, Gordon Strachan, Tommy Burns. I could go on and on, everybody. And so what we have is brilliant teachers. And so they tell you what it actually takes and what it means to coach in different ways and different forms. And so we need people like that in Canada. I know Jason's doing some great work, Jason DeVos, and trying to improve it and try to improve the courses and improve the diploma. But at the end of the day, we need more facilitators, and we need more facilities and more areas where these coaches can learn. And then we need clubs, whether it be grassroots or professional clubs, to encourage these coaches to develop their coaching, to get their provincial Bs, their national Bs, their As, and move up the coaching ladder, because the only way you can learn is actually being out there in the grass and stepping up with your education to get better and better.
Good stuff. And that concludes our show today. As usual, please continue to rate and review. Our iTunes review of the week this week comes from Oath. He says, love the insight into Toronto FC and even all world football. Incredible podcast. Thanks so much for the words. Kind words, Oath. That's very kind of you. And one last shout out to Danny Boffin, who didn't get talked about earlier when I pulled out my cards, a hardworking Belgian midfielder. So thanks to
Danny Boffin.
Can't
remember him. It has to be said.
Google Danny Boffin. Hopefully he's listening to the show. That's it for this week. We'll be back next week. Thanks to Dylan, Sean, Clay, and the listeners. Cheers, and we'll see you soon.